Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our November 18th Superintendent Webcast. We were talking a little bit before. It's hard to believe that this time next week we'll be staring down the gauge at our Thanksgiving holiday break, and I hope that everyone is as ready for this as I am. I'm looking forward to some time with family, and hopefully you got some time planned to be with your family next week and for a little more relaxation that you may need. And again, happy to see data release week to everyone. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at your test data, you should have received two emails actually, one on a Gov delivery system and also a direct email to you so you can review some of the data as we move forward. I did decide to do a background today instead of letting you see the dark, gloomy weather that's in my window behind us, but I figured that would be a little bit better than seeing all the rain that's going on behind us. But again, welcome to everyone to our November Superintendent's Webcast and our agenda for today. Next slide, please. I wanted to spend some time since we're getting close to legislative session to talk to you a little bit about again, going over the accountability, the model framework one more time, and Dr. Stafford will be here to answer any questions or add any parts that maybe I will miss, and undoubtedly I will. So it's always good to have a good backup plan. But also, too, wanted to have Dr. Perry. Thank you, Dr. Brian Perry, who is our Director of Government Relations. He'll be here to talk to the Board of Education and EPSB's legislative priorities. That way you understand some of the things that we're lobbying for. Of course, this isn't an all-inclusive list, but it does give us a good start of the things that we're lobbying for as we go across the river to talk to the folks in the annex, as we have already, and we'll continue to do so during the session. And then before our question and answers and important dates, we'll have Deputy Commissioner Thomas Tucker and also, hopefully, Dr. Michelle Searcy with us to talk about the counselor and school-based mental health providers' use of time superintendent's report. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. As far as some of our announcements, some good news to share with you. According to our new report from our third-party evaluator, I think it's CFL, I think. Don't quote me on that. The Kentucky Reading Academies have rapidly advanced literacy outcomes since the program's inception 3 years ago, with increase in educators' evidence-based literacy knowledge, beliefs, and instructional practices, and in their students' reading scores. As a matter of fact, some of the pieces of data we've shared, one of those include if a student has had a teacher that has been trained in the letters or in our science of reading, for 2 consecutive years, their reading scores increase at a much higher rate than a student that has not had a teacher trained in our with the letters training for the same amount of time. So very excited about some of that information and the news with that. Again, this was implemented in 2022 after the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 9. It's also known as the Read to Succeed Act. And the Reading Academies aim to transform literacy instruction across the state by offering opt-in, no-cost professional learning opportunities to both K-5 educators and administrators. As a matter of fact, some of you as superintendents have also attended our letters training, so very thankful to have you a part of that, but also even more so to have your teachers to participate. And we hope that you're seeing a lot of the similar data as we move forward. So far, since 2022, the fall of 2022, we've had over 6,000 Kentucky educators to participate in the letters professional training. Next slide, please. The Kentucky Department of Education's Office of Special Education and Early Learning, as we call it, OSEAL, kicked off the second year of the Kaleidoscope Community of Practice, which is a professional learning initiative designed to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. We have approximately 50 special education teachers that are part of 21 school districts that are part of this kickoff session over a year-long series. The Kaleidoscope Community of Practice is designed to enrich specially designed instruction in mathematics, literacy, and behavior, and the initiative emphasizes teacher learning and ongoing reflection as key drivers of instructional improvement. So if you'd like to learn more, you're more than welcome to email Ms. Rebecca Turner or visit the website that's off in the highlight here in the PowerPoint. I hope that you've already received a copy of this, but you can also click on that link to get more information. Next slide, please. We'll travel to Amy Irwin's district there in Barron County. And if you haven't seen this story, we actually put this story out in our Kentucky Teacher. There's also some local news that's covered this. But recently I saw this, I think it was on ABC News. And if you haven't heard, this is a wonderful story. As a matter of fact, you can read the information there. But we do have a teacher there at Red Cross Elementary School in Barron County, who's Mr. Scott Johnson. He's a STEAM teacher at Red Cross, and he teaches that to every student in the school, and it teaches them how to 3D print. More importantly, and remembering from our article, and also that's some information that's here, I had a student, you see the young man there, Mr. Jackson Farmer, who, he's probably the coolest guy in the building without a doubt now, as he probably always has been. But he was coming to school when he was in his kindergarten, first grade years with basically a rubber hand, and the teacher noticed and decided to do something about it. And he actually started communicating with other professionals through the Enable community, an online global community of volunteers who use 3D printers to make free and low-cost prosthetic limb devices for children and adults in need. And this is a really cool design. And actually, I believe the school system owns the design. So as Mr. Farmer grows older, they can change the design of the hand to accommodate allowing him to lift heavier objects or things of that nature. It's a really unique hand in that if he flexes his wrist one way, the hand will close. If he flexes it the other way, the hand will open. And it's more than just a 3D print, it's actually a robotic hand. So again, it took 25 hours to print this, and you can see, if you haven't seen this story, I highly recommend you look it up. This is something that will definitely make your day, and it's something that we need to share more and more about. And the beauty of this is not only that Mr. Farmer has his hand, but he's learning how to 3D print himself, and something that will help him throughout his life. So again, thank you to Mr. Johnson, to Ms. Irwin, Superintendent Irwin and her team for making things like this possible in Barron County. Next slide, please. Also, we have 31 Kentucky school districts have earned the recognition on the Alliance for a Healthier Generations list of Americans' healthiest schools. And the award evaluates schools across 9 key areas, and you can see those areas listed there. And you get, if you meet all 9 of the areas, you will receive an all-star distinction. To qualify, the schools must submit evidence of wellness activities enforced throughout the school year. If you want a full list, again, you can click on the link from the PowerPoint to get more information. And we do have pictured there in Demetrius Ligon's area, physical education teacher at Deep Springs, Mr. Garrett Tyson, as he high-fives a student during class. Next slide, please. We do have 2 new educators that are a part of the Education Professional Standard Board. One, and both are appointed by Governor Andy Beshear. One is Dr. Pace, Dr. Nicholas Pace, who is the Dean of the University of Kentucky's College of Education, and he'll represent post-secondary institutions on the board, and his term will expire on June 30th, 2026. Also have Dr. Elizabeth Dinkins, who is the Dean of Bellarmine University School of Education, and she will represent independent colleges and universities with her term expiring on September 10th, 2028. So congratulations to both Dr. Dinkins and Dr. Pace for being a part of the EPSB group. Next slide, please. We also have some more celebrations within our Kentucky school districts. We have, during our National Farm to School Month in October, 3 Kentucky school districts were awarded for their dedication to purchasing and using locally grown produce and proteins. I want to congratulate Mr. Wayne Sizemore at Jackson Independent, his group there. And also in Mercer County, Mr. Jason Boer, Superintendent Boer. And again, Amy Irwin, this has been your meeting today. Hopefully you're on and listening. With Barron County, they were awarded $10,000, $8,000, and $6,000 respectively for their work in this award. Winning districts had the highest percentage of locally produced proteins and produce for an entire school year in their meals. Eligible districts also had to participate in the National School Lunch Program. The monetary awards for each district received must be spent on local food purchases for the 2025 and 2026 school year. So again, Sizemore, Boer, and Irwin, congratulations to each of you, and thank you for what you do to elevate this program in your districts. Next slide, please. I think that until we get to talk about the accountability model, I'll turn it over to our Director of Communications, Ms. Jennifer again.
Thank you, Commissioner. We actually have quite a few competitive grants to talk about. First off, the CTE Innovations and Support Grant. The deadline is November 20th, 4 p.m. Award amount $100,000, and there's no matching funds. This grant is to support innovation in new or emerging career fields. School district must submit a separate application for each CTE school or program. In a comprehensive high school, ATCs can submit an independent application. Next is the FY26 Supporting Post-Secondary Achievement and Resources for Kentucky Students with Disabilities Grant, otherwise known as SPARK. The deadline on that one's November 25th, so it's coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, $75,000 per district. No matching funds requirement. So it strengthens education by enhancing interagency collaboration, building strong family partnerships, supporting students, and promoting the use of high-quality transition assessments to improve post-school outcomes for students with disabilities. Up next is the FY26 Read to Achieve grant, and I think you all have probably heard about some of these before, but it's always good to remind you all what's up. Those applications are due December 2nd, 4 p.m., $70,000 per year up to 4 years, and there is a matching funds requirement. The grant is to help teachers and library media specialists improve the reading skills of struggling readers in kindergarten through grade 3 who read at low levels and need accelerated learning. And please note the important update for this grant cycle: salary is once again an allowable expense. Up next is the FY26 STAR Academy grant. Those applications are due December 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The award amount is $1 million for 3-year implementation, no matching funds requirement, and it's designed to serve at-risk students who could benefit from project-based hands-on learning environment. So the curriculum is for students in grades 7 and 8. Awarded districts will designate 4 teachers in 5 classrooms for the exclusive use of STAR Academy students. The award amount is for implementation and does not include faculty staff salary expenses. And our last slide about competitive grants is for the FY26 21st Century Community Learning Centers. Applications are due January 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern. $150,000 per year for up to 3 years, no matching funds. And this program offers academic, artistic, and cultural enrichment opportunities for students attending high poverty and low performing schools, helping them meet challenging state academic standards through effective out-of-school programs that improve student achievement and social development. So applicants for these are responsible for monitoring KDE's competitive grants webpage, which there is a link to on this slide. And if you have any questions, you can also email Jennifer Bryant. Next, we have a reminder, the TEDS information deadline, fall 2025 Technical Education Data System, TEDS information is due in TEDS by December 1. So the data you provide includes your district's weighted full-time enrollment, which will be included in the supplemental CTE funding calculation for fiscal years 27. So reports will be pulled by KDE's Office of Career and Technical Education following the December 1st deadline. And that will be sent to your district CTE point of contact for verification and return to OCTE. So detailed instructions will be sent with the report. This procedure is different from previous years and should make it easier for districts with the submission process. But please ensure your CTE point of contact is correct before December. If you have any questions, there's an email here. It's a long one, but it's also the link is in the PowerPoint you received earlier. I've also had a request for a school bus purchasing reminder. The pricing guide is available on KDE School Buses webpage, which there's a link to in this slide. The online bus ordering portal opened November 14th. Prior to submitting an order, districts must secure board approval and obtain the necessary signatures. Your orders may now be entered and supporting documentation uploaded. For districts intending to utilize KISTA financing, please notify RSA representative, and I'm probably going to murder this, I'm sorry, Lincoln Thienert at your earliest convenience. The deadline to initiate KISTA orders is January 15th. Also, please inform your designated bus dealer if KISTA will be used, as processing timeline requires early coordination. So if you have any questions, please contact Carl Meehan. And last for me, this will be a fun one. I'm excited about this one. Apply now for the National School Bus Safety Week poster contest. So thousands of school districts in more than 40 states participate in local and state level competitions to select artwork that depicts school bus safety related themes and encourages and promotes school bus safety. The winning posters will be used to promote safer school transportation, and they will be highlighted during the next National School Bus Safety Week, which falls on the third full week of October each year. So the 2025-2026 poster contest, the theme is Safe Rides, Everyday Heroes, and the theme must be identified on the poster exactly as it is written, including that hyphen in the center. So visit the 2025-2026 National School Bus Safety Poster Rules webpage, and there's a link to that in the PowerPoint that you received for more information. Posters can be drawn anytime between now and April 3rd, and they must be received at KDE on or before April 18th. So please encourage your schools and your students to participate. All right, next up we have the Commissioner and Jennifer Stafford talking about model framework.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. One other comment about the school bus purchasing reminders. We apologize for the late release of that window or opening of that window. The contracts had to be approved in the finance cabinet, so we were waiting for those to be approved. I want to thank Matt Ross and his team in OFO. I think that those approvals happened midweek last week, and I think we had all the information together and out, I believe, by Friday afternoon, or if not Monday morning. So again, thank you to Matt Ross and the folks in OFO for turning that around very quickly and opening up the school bus purchasing windows so we could move forward with that. So thank you for that again, Matt. I want to take some time to talk about a couple different items. First of all, I wanted to, as we go into our legislative session, I think it's very important for everyone to get a full picture of the model framework that's been proposed. And also, too, of course, if anyone has any questions, are welcome to send me a text or to check with Dr. Stafford. But we wanted to go through the model framework one more time to make sure everyone had a clear picture of what's being proposed. And of course, if there's any questions, that way when a legislator comes to you, and believe me, I get legislators come all the time, and they'll say, we'll talk to our superintendents, or we're waiting on some input from our superintendent. So it's very important that you communicate with your legislators on the model framework as we move forward. So Jen, if you wouldn't mind, next slide, please. And again, all these slides should look very familiar to you. We've sent these out. I think we've had some discussions on this, and you can see the focus that we're trying to move more towards vibrant learning. And we've talked about that, the definition and examples of vibrant learning. There's a wide range. We want students to have that ability and opportunity to demonstrate knowledge and skills in different ways, whether it be through project-based learning, defenses of learning, whether it be through internships, apprenticeships. Again, we want to have students have that opportunity to do more than just a test score as a part of an accountability model. And one of the biggest and I think the brightest pieces of this model really focuses in on collaboration, and really on two fronts. And first, it's asking districts to collaborate in partnership with their communities. We have, I think it's 7 districts, and I've tried to write those down earlier. I've been told, I think I can name 6. I don't want to name all unless I can name all 7. I can name 6 off the top of my head, but I think we have 7 districts that have fully implemented local accountability models. where they've worked with the Tanner model to go through that work, or they've worked with people here at the department through our L3, our local laboratories of learning, and they've developed their own accountability model that includes student achievement, but also includes other measures or other local measures that the local community deems are important and want to see growth in. So the collaboration with the local community, whether it be with your business partners, your legislators, your parents, your teachers, your students, to develop that model is so important. But also, too, one of the best parts I've seen is the collaboration among districts. Again, we're not worried about a color rating. We're not worried about what if a district was blue, green, or red. Although you'll get the data tomorrow, and you've seen it already. Well, you've actually should have already seen all the data. But I won't mention anything in particular, but we've had some good data as it relates to our state testing as far as numbers when it looks at your blue, green schools, things of that nature, and that's important. But to me, it's more important to see districts collaborate with each other to make sure that they're getting those opportunities to their kids. I've told several times, I think it was Woodford County that presented at one of the town halls, and they gave logos of all the districts that they were working with to develop a local accountability model. And they had Shelby County, Logan County, they had Rowan County, they had Johnson County. I think they had Kenton and Rockcastle counties. They had a lot of different districts that they were working with to develop their local accountability model to get ideas on how to do that. And I think Shelby County was another one they were working with. But again, that collaboration is so important. But also, too, local innovation. Our Commonwealth is so diverse. The needs and the not just the opportunities, but what's valuable in each community. It could be manufacturing in one community, where it could it be agriculture in another community. What do we value in our local communities, and we want to make it a part of our local accountability system and how we measure that. And of course, feedback and support. We want to make sure that there's feedback and support, not only from KDE, but also from each district as we move forward. So those are some things that this accountability model is built on, if you will. Now, as far as the meat of the accountability model, next slide, please. The accountability model is divided into two parts, and I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly. With the Navy section, you have the state accountability indicators, and these meet the federal requirements. First of all, in the summative reading and math, we have a reading and math test now, but what we're proposing in the next reading and math test would be an adaptive test that not only gives the grade level standards where you're apprentice, novice, proficient, or distinguished on grade level standards, but it also give grade level equivalency. And the reason for that is our parents have been trained to understand and to be able to connect with proficiency as a rating or distinguished as a rating. But I think it means more to parents, to most parents anyway. If I have a third grade student and you tell them your student is reading 2 grade levels above, or 1 grade level below, or they're on grade level, parents really can connect with that. And I think that's something that would be an important piece of information to add to this accountability model. So again, that would be a part of the data that's available to districts. Now, I will say that comes at a cost. In order to go from one accountability model that it has the current assessment system, to go to a new one, there would be a year of development, a year of implementation. Then also, too, we would still have to score the old assessment and report the old assessment. So you're looking at a transition period that would cost about $17 million over and above over the next 2 years of what we're paying right now. I will say by year 3 or by the second year of full implementation, the cost kind of evens out. If you look at what we're doing in testing now versus what we're proposing on the reading and math, on what's required versus what's required now, the cost would even out at about $11 million per year. So again, there's some changes there. We're also proposing that we go from the change model that we have now to individual student growth. So where did you get the individual child and where did you take them? That's something that seems to have a lot of momentum within our legislators, wanting to move to this individual student growth model. And again, we would put together groups on what does that look like? How does that make sense as we move forward? I fully expect the student growth portion to be passed, and it seems like it has the strongest momentum. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about pieces of this. We are presenting this to legislators as one full package, but also knowing that there's each part has its own cost, and the legislators could say we want this part or this part. So again, so far we have given them the summative, we've given them all pieces, but we've told them the cost of each part. The next part, we're not making any changes in transition readiness or graduation rate. That's still part of the high school portion. The English language progress, if we move to growth, one of the things that we're proposing is in year one, the ELL students would be taking a baseline test. In year two, their growth scores would be a part of the accountability model. Then in year three, their performance or their status, if you will, would also be included. So essentially, it would take us 3 years to onboard an English language learning student as opposed to the current model, which has them fully in after 2 years. And of course, the climate and safety survey already is, I think, 4%, I think is the percentage that's a part of that CSI calculation. And we're proposing that that remains within that part of the state accountability model. Now, those top 5 bullets would be the part that we would talk about would be the formula that would make up the formula for the CSI designation. Again, to meet the federal requirements, those 5 bullets would be the 5 parts that would make up the calculation, if you will, for CSI status. Now, science assessment, it is required that we give a science assessment. It has to be uniform throughout the Commonwealth, and we have to report it. And we want to do that. But we're actually pulling that science assessment out and reporting it separately on its own. And it wouldn't be a part of the calculation for the CSI status. So again, yes, we're giving a statewide science assessment. Yes, we're giving it at grade bands. We're promoting to give it at 5th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade. But again, we would report that separately from the CSI calculation, so it would not be a part of that. That essentially takes care of the state accountability pieces that meet federal requirements. Overall, the testing window should be, or the testing time should be shorter, especially with an adaptive test. And again, social studies and writing is not a part of that state accountability piece. Now, if you move over to the left side, the local accountability indicators, I'll start in the bottom left. There are 3 required portions that we would ask for. One would be, how do you incorporate vibrant learning to be a part of your local accountability model? How do you measure that? How do you show that? Is it just a matter of what percentage of our kids are being part of vibrant learning? You know, I've been at since it's fresh on my mind, I was in Clark County yesterday, and they had the Great Shake event where they have students that do the gauntlet. They also do other portions where they work the room. I think we have other districts. I've heard Mason County does this same competition, and Fleming County also does this. And I know there's others throughout the Commonwealth, but those are the 3 that I'm aware of. To me, that is a vibrant learning experience because kids have the opportunity to communicate, to problem solve, to think on their feet, to present. That is a vibrant learning experience, and that's something that our districts are already doing. What percentage of your kids get to do that? So, and then how you measure that, we're looking at you as a district to determine how do you measure that vibrant learning. Is it what percentage of our kids are getting those opportunities, or is it quality of vibrant learning? Again, that's up to you. As we mentioned before, writing and social studies are not a part of the CSI calculation. We are requiring every district to assess writing and assess social studies in your own way. That could be with a competency-based system. It could be with a performance-based system, system based on competencies, or it could be, I've heard some districts talk about badging. I've even heard a couple say that they enjoyed the portfolios with writing. But that's up to you on how you do it. We also realize there's districts not ready for that type of assessment, so we would still be offering our writing and our social studies assessments that you could give to report as a part of your local accountability model. Those are the required pieces that we would have after going through 9 town halls, all the surveys. Those are the required pieces that we'd have in the local accountability. But there's also some flexibility. What are your locally determined indicators? Are you looking at student well-being? Are you looking at fiscal management? Are you looking at school safety? What exactly does your community ask of you to be a part of those locally determined indicators, and how do you present that to your district? I've seen I've seen a district do an ebook where they just put the data all in one booklet that's on their website. I've seen others to do dashboards where they actually have everything from this is how our funds are spent to this is student well-being. In other words, what percentage of our students are involved in co-curricular, extracurricular activities as a potential indicator. So there's a lot of different things that would be locally, that you could decide that's locally determined for indicators to be a part of your model, with the idea of improvement, with the idea of growth in mind. If you give us a local accountability model that gives you 100% across the board, then that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for, yes, we want to display data that gives a good reflection of our district, but we also want to look at opportunities for growth. And that's something that you would want, again, but that's how you do that. How you want to do that's up to you. We are also proposing interim assessments. Everyone on this call is probably either using MAP, STAR, or iReady in your interim assessment system, which essentially means that you have 4 testing windows. You have your fall testing window and whatever you're giving. You also have your winter and your spring, but then you also have the state testing window. So essentially all districts have 4 testing windows right now. What we're proposing is that we have an interim assessment system that aligns with the summative math and reading at the end, so that you would get data throughout the year that actually gives you information as it's aligned with the state summative performance. So now instead of having 4 windows, you'd have the state interim assessment and reading and reading and math in the fall. Also another one in the winter, and then the third one would actually be the summative assessment. Now, I will say the interim assessments are not a part of accountability. It's solely formative information for you as you do your MTSS systems and also prepare for the state assessment at the end of the year. One other component that doesn't get a lot of talk for whatever reason is, again, we are proposing that we move science to 5th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade, but we also offer off-grade science testing in 3rd and 4th, and also 6th and 7th grades and 9th. That way you'd have formative assessments on your students throughout their elementary 3rd, 4th grade years to prepare for 5th grade, and 6th and 7th grade to prepare for 8th grade. We heard a lot from our legislators about the importance of science, and we believe that, but they wanted to make sure that we had that off-grade testing. Again, it's not a part of accountability. You don't even have to report it. It's if you want to opt in on that assessment that gives you data that points you back to the state assessment at the end of their grade level band, you would have that information. And you could also build some other MTSS along with that with your science if you so desire. Again, it's an opt-in piece. So the opt-in, there would be opt-in reading and math. It wouldn't be required that you do that, but you could opt in for it. And the science off grade, you could also opt in. You don't have to report either one unless you want to report it as part of your own local accountability model. Totally up to you. It could be simply formative assessments that you use within your district. Also locally determined assessments or indicators that you want to determine with the collaboration of your community to decide what that looks like. But now there are some required pieces which are on the bottom left as it relates to vibrant learning, writing, and social studies. Now, there are some things that just for full clarification and full transparency, we could do a growth model even if we didn't change the assessment system now. I've had legislators ask me, can we do a growth model without switching to a new assessment system? Yes, we can, and we could implement that also too. Now, personally, I believe, and again, talking with other people, that an adaptive test that would be shorter, that would be able to give grade level equivalency would be better. But again, we're making sure that legislators have the full picture. And when I get questions asked like that, I don't know where they go from there, but sometimes they may come back with some type of proposal. But we are proposing that it is a new math and reading that would that would be an adaptive test. But now they may come back and say, okay, we think that costs too much. We want to use the same assessment system and just do growth. Another thing for full transparency is you can already do local accountability without it being part of state law. We do the last report, and this was self-reported. The last number I got from from our OCIS group, our innovation department, was I think there's around 30 some districts total they're working on local accountability models. And but you could do local accountability without it being a shall in the state in state statute. You can do that. And whether or not the local accountability, I see a lot of positives as we move forward. There's been a lot of questions lately, but again, I see a lot of positives as we move forward with the local accountability. But even if it didn't pass, this is the work that we're promoting as we move forward, regardless of whether or not it's part of state statute. We hope it is, and we're promoting that it is. But again, you have the option now, even if it's not in law, to have your own local accountability model. And we believe that it makes such a difference in districts and their transparency with their communities and their collaboration with their communities that it's worth putting in statute as a shall. So those are the two major pieces. I hope that clarifies a lot of things for you as you talk with legislators, because if your legislators haven't asked you already, they're going to. I have no doubt, because that's the most common question I have. Well, two questions. One, how does leadership feel about this? And we've been meeting with leadership both on the House and Senate side. Then the second question is, how do our superintendents feel? So you're going to get a lot of questions, if you haven't already, about this model. And if there's anything I can clarify for you at any time, you're more welcome to do so. So I'm going to stop here for just a second before I go on to the next slide. Dr. Stafford, is there anything that I missed that you'd like to add on that?
Well, Commissioner, you did a great job explaining that. Both models, both the state accountability as well as the local accountability models. I will add one piece on that individual student growth, if I can, is that the individual student growth piece, which has been supported from the very beginning of our surveys and our feedbacks. It has been the most supported of all of the pieces of the current framework 4.0. I just want to just clarify that the individual student growth is an elementary and middle school indicator only, because that's where we test each grade level 3 through 8. We don't have that those back-to-back years at the high school. So it is elementary and middle school indicator, and that would be on the summative assessment, that state administered assessment from one year to the next. So in reading and math, it would be, for example, your grade 3 reading compared to your grade 4 reading by student. So that's the addition that I just wanted to make and to clarify that one piece.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stafford. I appreciate that. So again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send those to us. We'll do our best to answer those as we move forward. I do want to take just a minute to the next slide talks a little bit about a transition period. So if we have next slide, please. We fully understand that we can't just flip a switch in every district to have a local accountability model. So we would start with that first year to continue with our pilot group of districts to design and implement the local accountability systems. This has been exciting work, and I think that I've heard from some of the folks in Eastern Kentucky that they had their very first community meeting, and they were so surprised by all the local leaders that showed up, and they started this work. So again, it's good to see that. But again, we understand that this is a long process. Our districts that have been dealing with local accountability, I'll use Kenton County as an example. I think Henry, Dr. Webb would tell you, they've been doing this probably for 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. So to have the model they have now has taken multiple years, maybe even longer. I may be shortchanging it just a little bit, but again, multiple years in order to have a local accountability model. It's taken some time to first develop it, get your pillars together, then also to gather your data, and then also put that out to your community. So there would be a pilot phase with a group of districts that we feel like is ready for that. And then we'd have an expansion phase. We have some districts are in the middle of this work that would be perfect to go into this expansion phase. And then at the end, we'd make sure that we try to have those type of systems that are scaled across the state with networks. For example, if you're in Breathitt County and you want to maybe team with someone in Muhlenberg, You're looking at two counties with a lot of similarities. They could work together on what exactly does their local accountability model look like? How can they learn from each other and move forward? So again, I just looked up at the map up there and I thought, okay, these are two counties, but again, it's about establishing those networks. But also too, the one thing that also gets a lot of questions is we're also promoting a third party evaluator that would come every 3 years, maybe each year they would maybe look at 1/3 of the accountability models across the state. And we look at preparing lists of these are the models when it comes to collaboration. These are the models when it comes to defenses of learning. These are the models that do other parts so that other districts can say, okay, this is where we can go to make sure or to give us ideas or to say that is something for us to kind of model what we're doing. Again, it would make sense that, Jefferson and Fayette could work together, maybe Boone, Kenton, some of the larger districts, and versus maybe someone that's in our more rural areas, maybe they could work together to say, okay, this group has an excellent model for, I'll just say, defenses of learning. And there are a lot like us demographically, maybe even geographically, with the resources that we have. How can we work together? But one thing I will say to districts, you don't need to look at this as a model of this. We don't have the opportunity to do this. We can't do this. What you really need to look at is what do you do and how do you highlight what you do for students already? How do you tell your story? That's really what the local accountability model is about, is how do you tell your story and then show growth and work with your community to grow. It's not, for me, it's not a deficit model. It's not what we don't offer. It's what we do. And we're very proud of what we do and who we are. And this is how we're going to put together a model that highlights that and helps us grow regionally, locally, and then even to give our kids maybe even more opportunities. So please keep that in mind as you go forward. Next slide, please. Again, this does go with our moonshot, and I really believe that in order to, you've heard this several times, in order to build a prosperous Kentucky, we'll launch an accountability system that is meaningful and useful to all learners. When we talk with our Cool Council and others, when they put this forward, there's only one way, in my opinion, to get an accountability system that is meaningful and useful to all learners. You have to have a local accountability piece so that it means something to your local community. It's something that you can hang your hat on. It's things that you're going to do to promote your local school system. So again, I'm very excited about where we are. Hopefully that you are too. If you don't mind, if you have the opportunity, please talk with your legislators about where you are and what you'd like to see. Or even if you have questions, please give me a call and I'll be happy to answer those. But I am hearing more and more legislators talk about this. As a matter of fact, there's some caucuses that are going on in the House this week. I should have more information. And we're looking at a sponsor for the bill. And after the caucuses over this week, I expect us to learn a lot more about a potential bill sponsor as we move forward. So very excited about that. Next slide, please.
All right.
And before we go into the legislative priorities with Dr. Perry, I do want to say this, so many districts across the Commonwealth that helped us develop this model. And I would say that at least people in every single district answered a survey, if not work as part of the innovation of the L3 group, or maybe even did some independent work on and then showed we're being able to use that as maybe examples for other districts. Thank you for the work that you put into this to get us to this point. And we still lean on you to work with legislators as we move forward in this process. So I'll stop there. And Jen, you're more than welcome to introduce our next speaker.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner and Dr. Stafford. Dr. Brian Perry is with us next for the Kentucky Board of Education and Education Professional Standards Board 2026 legislative priorities. Are you with us, Brian?
I am. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so we just want to take a few minutes to run through the priorities for the two boards and just talk a little bit about what's happening in each of those areas. You're probably not surprised after the last presentation to hear that that work is kind of our top priority heading into the session. I will say that the commissioner has met with all of Senate Education members, as well as members of House and Senate leadership, the A&R chairs. We've had a lot of meetings over the past few months. laying the groundwork as we head into the session. So I'm looking forward to hearing where that goes next. So under the support for the education workforce, we have a few things that we're working on. You may remember that Senator Higdon filed a teacher scholarship bill last session. I fully suspect that he will be refiling a version of that this session, so we are working on that. We are also asking for a little bit of cleanup language that would allow us to use funds from certification fees to replace KEPS with a statewide job portal. This is something that we've talked about for a few years now, on and off. KEPS is not great for reporting vacancy data. It's really just a job posting board. We get a lot of questions about teacher vacancy. We really appreciate you all filling out the survey the past 2 falls. However, replacing that kind of antiquated KEPS system with a statewide job portal would not only give teachers the opportunity to apply one place for multiple districts, but also allow districts to potentially fill high need areas by finding folks that were interested in working in those districts, but also give us the chance to give better vacancy data to the General Assembly as they requested. We are also having a lot of conversations about some sort of new or reimagined principal induction and mentoring program. I think this is kind of following up on the heels of lots of conversations about just the importance of building leadership. So when K-PIP and K-TIP went away, it's kind of left a void. So there continues to be a lot of talk about some sort of new principal induction and mentoring program. So I suspect we will see legislation on that this year. There hasn't been a lot of interim presentations on that particular topic, so a little unclear if it moves this year or not, but certainly is something to keep an eye on. So the board has also prioritized securing additional funding for key initiatives. So just a few of those initiatives, none of these are going to surprise anybody. So increasing funding for numeracy counts and Read to Succeed. Both those are showing some early return on investment. So definitely would like to see those continue to get funded. HQIRs, we had legislation last session around HQIRs again. So continuing to invest in that critical area. We definitely are needing some funding to continue the high level of service provided through KETS to districts. So hopefully we'll see that in the next budget cycle, and also some continued full day kindergarten. So those are just a few of the areas that we've asked for additional funding around. So stay tuned. Under statutory updates and cleanup, we have quite a few different items. So I'll try to run through these fairly quickly. Kind of at the top of the list on everybody's mind is some cleanup to Senate Bill 181 from last session, the telecommunications bill. Fully suspect we will see an early cleanup bill get filed and probably move fairly quickly on that. So that's good news. So the General Assembly has taken action over the past number of years to stabilize the board from outside influence following the actions of a couple of different administrations. The board would like to kind of take that one step further and stagger some of the Supreme Court districts so that not all those seats are rolling on and off the board at the same time. So we have asked for that. We have a few asks around cleanup language for 207 from Senate Bill 207 from last session, particularly the waiver part of that bill. So the board is the KBE is going to start meeting monthly. One of the audit recommendations that came out this summer was that they needed to have more in-depth conversation around some big education issues. So they're going to start doing a virtual meeting every other month, really geared toward that in-depth conversation in order to kind of keep that meeting separate and different and kind of feel from their quote unquote regular in-person meetings every other month. We're asking to space out the time that the board has to take action on waivers as they come in. We are also asking that the commissioner be allowed to approve waivers for or class size waiver requests for special education so that we can get those processed more quickly. And then we also would like to remove the automatic expiration of waivers related to district facility projects. So those are waivers that really shouldn't expire. So trying to get some cleanup language around those items. We are also asking for a full repeal of KRS 156-690. That was a teacher computer purchase program, I believe, from the 90s. It's quite outdated and needs to come off the books. So hopefully we'll see that happen. Similarly, we would like to repeal statutory language concerning the Council for Education Technology. That's a council that hasn't met in over 30 years. And again, is kind of mentioned in various places in statutes. We're trying to get that cleaned up as well. Another audit finding that came out this summer was clarifying ownership regarding the FFA Leadership Center, I think down in Nancy, Kentucky. And so we were asking just for a small statutory cleanup to clarify that. And then we would also like to mirror the paternity leave provided under SB 9 for teachers to our faculty and staff in the ATCs. So we are asking for that as well. So those are the kind of statutory and cleanup items that we have. I think Senate Bill 181 will be its own standalone bill that runs early in the session, and we are working to package the rest of those cleanup items together, sort of in our own little cleanup omnibus. So we will continue to work on that. Under facilities, it's really just exploring pathways to modernize the funding of district facilities. So you may see some conversations happening around that. We also want to, or they want to review and update the substitute teaching statute you see there. And then finally, kind of continuing on the heels of some historic investment in CTE over the past few budget cycles, we have one last ask to kind of put all of that under one umbrella, and kind of the last step of that process of modernizing that funding pathway. So anyway, those are the kind of the legislative priorities for the board. Obviously, this is not a full list. I will also say that you probably realize that this is not an all new list. So the board is really starting to recognize that they need to take a bit of a longer term vision in terms of the annex and legislation. And so I think we will have another conversation with the board following the upcoming session. So late spring, early summer, where they will kind of think over the next biennium what their priorities are and what their goals are. So I just want to give them kudos for really starting to take a little bit of a longer term view of the legislative priorities. So it will definitely help us on this end kind of carry out their priorities as we work over a 2-year biennium. So with that, we'll move over to the next slide, please. So the EPSB's priorities are a little more broad, but you'll notice that they overlap quite a bit with the KBE's. The ethical educator, that first bullet point there, that largely falls under the bill that Chair Tipton has filed the last few sessions. Not sure if he'll refile that again, but we are certainly supportive of that. We've also had some conversations around some anti-grooming legislation that we may see drop. Again, I mentioned the mentoring and induction and kind of a real focus right now on principals, but also on a potential replacement for K-TIP. So we'll continue to work on that. The financial incentives largely falls with that scholarship bill that we've talked about so far, but certainly are supportive of other things for the profession. In terms of elevating the profession, I will say that I think for the first time since I've been at KDE, which is 4 years next month, really starting to hear a few whispers that maybe we've gone a little too far in letting folks get into the classroom. And maybe potentially it's time to tighten the reins up a little bit. And I think that's part of elevating the profession and not just continuing to water it down. So just we'll mention that starting to hear some conversation about that. Not sure that we'll see anything happen with it right now, but certainly the EPSB is supportive of anything that continues to elevate the profession. Their statutory cleanup items largely mirror what I mentioned before, so I won't go through those again. So that's the legislative priorities for the two boards. Obviously, things are picking up quickly, so if you have any questions as it relates to the upcoming session, or if we're hearing anything, please reach out. Always happy to take a call, text, or an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. Up next, we have counselor and school-based mental health providers use of time superintendent's report. We have Dr. Tucker and Dr. Searcy. So are you all with us?
I am here, Jennifer. Thanks a lot. Here, the sun is out and it's beautiful, Commissioner and everyone. Next slide. I'm going to be very brief, Jennifer. Per KRS 158.4416, Section 3F, by November 1st, we're asking all of our school district superintendents to report this use of time survey. I am so happy to say that so far, I mean, we're well past November 1st, but we at least have 100 of the 171 surveys in. Now, the survey is going to close on the 25th. And so those of you who have not submitted your survey, it's highly recommended that you do so that any of your responses that you're submitted may be an error, we can catch those errors and we can take care of those in sufficient time, which again is November 25th. So please get those in. Those of you who have not, we're fingers crossed by the 25th, we'll have them all. And we won't have to send out a reminder email to those of you who have not completed your surveys. If you have any technical assistance problems, please reach out to Leslie McKinney. And I do apologize, the chat box is not working, so I can't put Leslie's email address in. If you needed her complete email address, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. And also, if you have any clarifying questions or you need any additional details, please reach out to Dr. Michelle Searcy. And that's really about it for me. Very thankful. We have twice as many surveys in this year than we did last year. And lastly, your colleagues here at the Kentucky Department of Education, I want to thank you for your leadership and your stewardship. Is certainly paying off in so many ways, not only in academic ways, but also as we begin to take care of our students' social and emotional needs. Jennifer, that's it for me in less than 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tucker. And we are back to the commissioner and Q&As.
Well, did we, were there any questions that were submitted in Teams?
No,
Jennifer?
sir.
Okay, Stacy, thank you, Stacy. No questions. So if no questions, what's our next slide? Some important dates. With the most important date that's listed there, I'm going to say, is the Thanksgiving holidays. We are closed on November 27th and 28th. The commissioner may also be taking off the 26th, just so that you know. We do have our public release of data tomorrow, November 19th at 12:01. So later on tonight, our team will be up and at them to kind of help with any other postings that are there. I will say again, just a reminder: if you did not receive the Gov delivery message, it probably went to your spam. And if it did, you should have also got an email straight to your email yesterday evening, to hopefully that you got all the data that you need moving forward as it relates to our accountability data. The next LSAC meeting, Local Superintendent's Advisory Council, is November 25th. The Kentucky Board of Education will meet on December 3rd and 4th. Our next Superintendent Webcast, December 11th, and the EPSB will meet on December 16th. Those are all of our important dates that we have listed anyway. I'm sure that more things will come along the way. Just want to again say thank you for all you do. We appreciate your hard work. I hope that every one of your districts met every goal that they had as it relates to our accountability system and testing. Wish you the best of luck, and then hopefully you have a lot of great stories to tell. But keep in mind, students are more than just a test score. And that's the point of the local accountability model, is to give us that opportunity to highlight the great things that are going on in our districts. Again, promoting this new model, if you have that opportunity, we'd greatly appreciate it. But in the meantime, we do thank you for everything that you do for students in the Commonwealth. And we also thank you for being all in.